Season it.
And welcome to this week's edition of Rains on the Cardinals podcast. Rob Rains, Mike Rains with us. And our backgrounds look a little bit different. It's because we're both in a new location today. As everybody follows me on Twitter knows, I've been in Springfield the last couple of days checking out the AA Springfield Cardinals, really playing some exciting baseball down here. And Mike moved into his new house, so he's still unpacking. So no walls behind him. And I'm broadcasting from the Drury Hotel here in Springfield. Our great sponsors, the Drury Hotels, right here on Glenstone. Anybody coming down to Springfield, be sure to check it out.
Yeah, I'm currently propped up on a couple empty milk crates here, so that's the process that we go as we're painting in the other rooms. So
the desk chair at the Drury Hotel, even though it's a really great room, it's a little bit lower that I like it. So I'm actually propped up on a yoga mat and two folded towels to try and make myself a little bit higher. But you can see the Route 66 sign over my shoulder right down the road. So yeah, it's a great spot for anybody coming down to Springfield or on your way down to Branson. Be sure to check out the Drury Hotel here in Springfield. Thanks, of course, to all of our other great sponsors, Archwell Health and the Rawlings Experience, our main sponsors. If you haven't been out to Westport yet to see the Rawlings exhibit, you need to get out there soon. Michael, a lot to talk about. Been a busy week for the Cardinals since we last got together here a week ago. Of course, interesting series against the Diamondbacks. The Cardinals pick up the win on Wednesday, 5-1. Get out of a first inning jam. Kyle Gibson pitches his way out of that, minimizes the damage. That's the only run he allows, and the Cardinals manufacture some runs late and get the win. But of course, that coming after the bad blowout loss on Tuesday night, which followed the walk-off home run from Nolan Gorman, the first home run since opening day for Paul Goldschmidt. Everybody very high after that game, very low after Tuesday night's game. I don't know where they are after Wednesday's game, probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, very interesting series when you look at it, right? Obviously capped off at the beginning with the walk-off, like you said. Everybody's all excited, finally getting it back. And then, the good news about getting blown out in a game, regardless if you give up 14 runs or 2 runs, a loss is a loss, right? So you put it away, and Kyle came back and was the answer today. I mean, he looked fantastic in the outing today, and you would love to see a start like that from him every time, right?
Well, he's got 6 innings and all 5 starts, and no Cardinal pitcher has done that in the last 7 years. So that was obviously an encouraging sign. I think that's one of the reasons why they signed him. But that game today could have gotten away from him very easily in the first inning, and the fact that he didn't. Diamondbacks load the bases, nobody out in the first inning. He gives up a sacrifice fly, which was about 5 feet or so short from being a grand slam home run. So got a little bit lucky there, but that reprieve was all he needed to get the Cardinals to hold them right there. And the Cardinals were able to get some runs off Jordan Montgomery late and pick up the victory. The first time all season the Cardinals have won the final game of a series. They've been 0-7 in that kind of a weird category, but gives them a little momentum maybe as they hit the off day on Thursday and then start the road trip on Friday in New York.
And one thing that, people that have listened to this podcast have heard us say before is that the challenge coming into this year is with the 3 new starters, is Ollie going to let them go more than 6 innings, right? And you've seen that in the way that Sonny Gray pitches, the way that Lynn pitches, and the way that Kyle pitches, is you're seeing them go deeper in games than, anyone in the previous years have done, right? Kyle in one game got blown up in the first inning, but then only gave up 2 hits after that for another 6 innings. Lance has gone into the 7th inning this year, and as Sonny's working his pitch count back up, it's exciting to see the starting pitching last longer, and I think that's what's allowed the bullpen to pitch well throughout these series too.
Yeah, I was going to say the other bright spot, of course, today was, and it's a bright spot all season, is the late inning bullpen core. All got the job done again today. Joe Romero, Andrew Kittredge, and then Ryan Helsley pitched the 9th, even though it wasn't not a safe situation with the off day coming up on Thursday and not having it pitched last night or Tuesday night in the blowout loss to the Diamondbacks. So I think you're encouraged by the way those guys have pitched. And I think you're right. I think the way that the starting pitchers have pitched has helped kind of take some of that pressure off the bullpen.
And I think the guy that, the forgotten guy in all of this is Steven Matz. He really hasn't been that bad either, right? Not bad or serviceable, right? I mean, I think we would have looked at this last year and said we would take a quality start from any pitcher at any point in time, and it wasn't happening. So this year, to see how many guys that are able to do that is very helpful.
They do need to get Miles Michaelis straightened up a little bit. I think he's had some games that have not gone well, and Matz's line on Tuesday night was not pretty, but obviously he kind of had a couple of things that went against him there that kind of changed that pitching line a little bit. The other thing I'm maybe, I guess, encouraged about a little bit is we mentioned Goldsmith's home run on Monday night. Then, of course, did not have a good game on Tuesday night. Of course, nobody on the ball club did. And then Wednesday does get 2 hits, including his first double of the year. So maybe there's a couple of signs that he's starting to come out of it a little bit.
Yeah, and he's the type of guy that he's going to put in the work and he's going to figure out what's happening, right? It's just taking longer than I think everyone would like it to. And I think it's highlighted by the fact that the offense has been really bad. But if you look back over the last week, we're starting to get some hits. We're starting to trend in the right direction. Obviously, throw the bad game out against the Diamondbacks where you get blown out by 13 runs or whatever it was. But, you look at the hit totals and you're starting to see 7, 8, 9. You're starting to see those pile up a little bit more, which is a trend in the right direction.
Of course, the other big story on Wednesdays, we sit here doing the Reigns on the Cardinals weekly podcast. Rob Reigns and Mike Reigns there on STLSportsPage.com. The other big story on Wednesday before the game, the Cardinals made the decision to option Jordan Walker along with Zach Thompson back to Memphis. Your first reaction and thoughts about that move?
I think it's probably helpful for Walker. He's looked a little bit lost at the plate. Nobody ever wants to go back to Memphis or back to AAA, but I do truly think they have a plan and they want Jordan back as quick as they can. So hopefully he can get figured out whatever it is, because he's got to figure out how to get on base.
Yeah, he's a key piece of this puzzle. I mean, the Cardinals were counting on him being better than he was a year ago. His rookie year, was pretty good, but not as good as the Cardinals had hoped. But I think they thought the sophomore year he'd have all those rookie things figured out and would be able to hit the ground running. And it just hasn't happened. A 155 batting average, 9 of 58, no home runs, only 4 RBIs, which I think is kind of the a telltale statistic as well. And just, I think, kind of looked lost at the plate. So it honestly should not probably come as a shocking move, even though we really expected him to do well, but still very young player, still 21 years of age. So a lot of time and growth he can have, and maybe getting away from the big league environment will help him out a little bit. I think the funny part, not really funny, but the odd part of the timing of this is it's the 2 days shy of the 1-year anniversary of when he got sent down last year, April 26th last year, and arguably was playing much better a year ago at this time than it was this year when they made that decision to send him out.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something to be said about guys getting off to a slow start and things like that, but you hope Jordan can figure it out. You hope that the minors can help bring it back, right? The one thing in AAA is you're not going to see the same pitches that you're going to see up here. So the other thing they can do is it can build your confidence back, right? Because all of a sudden you go 3 for 4 in a night, you go 4 for 5, whatever it may be, the confidence starts to build. And so you start to get better pitch selection as you're looking. And so hopefully when you come back to the majors, then you're able to recognize some of those pitches better and focus a little bit more at the plate.
He certainly knows what he needs to work on. I mean, I think he obviously knows that the pitches, the pitch selection that he needs to become a little bit more better about recognizing pitches and knowing which ones to lay off of, which ones not to chase out of the zone. And I think that's obviously what they're going to be working with him on. And they tried to do that at the big league level. He had some days off. They could put in a lot of work before the game, but I just don't think it's tough to work on things like that and to learn at the big league level, because you're here to play games, you're here to try to win games. But down there, he has the ability to maybe focus on what he needs to do. The winning and losing, still not important, but it's not magnified the way it is at the big league level. The Cardinals said on Wednesday that the plan is for him to take a couple of days off when he gets to Memphis to work in the batting cage and on the field there in pregame drills and stuff, and then probably won't be into an actual game in Memphis for a couple of days. When he does get into the lineup in Memphis, of course, he's going to see a familiar face, because since we talked a week ago on this podcast, Victor Scott II, another struggling outfielder, also was sent down to Memphis, and that happened on Sunday before the game. He's been able to play in a couple of games at Memphis already, getting 1 hit, but he's another guy that obviously they kind of – I don't want to say they necessarily were counting on him when the season began, because they probably weren't, because he had already been optioned to Memphis but late in spring training. But then when Dylan Carlson gets hurt, he's the guy that has to come up and take his place. And he also was struggling out of the gate pretty much most of the season.
Yeah, the common denominator between the two is they just can't get on base. They can't get hits. And, Victor really relies on his speed, but he's got to get on base to be able to use the speed and generate the offense, right? The one challenge that a lot of people don't realize is that when you're at the big league level, if a pitcher gets behind in a count to a batter, 2-0, 1-0, whatever it may be, when he needs to throw a strike, he's not afraid to throw a curveball or a breaking ball in there. At the AAA level, when a pitcher's behind, he's going to his fastball. So it's kind of the reverse when they get to the big league level. And so I think a lot of young hitters struggle with that concept because they're trying to guess what they're used to seeing in the minors, but yet pitchers in the big leagues kind of work in reverse because they have a lot more skill set.
Mhm.
Guys in AA and AAA really are only throwing two, maybe three pitches. You get them to the big leagues and you're seeing 4 or 5 pitches. So hopefully they can get down, build their confidence back up. They know what they have to work on. They know how to do it, and hopefully we can see them both here pretty soon.
And I don't think there's any question the Cardinals need both those guys to be up here and playing well. I mean, right now, for the time being, you're going to look at basically a routine, regular starting outfield at Brendan Donovan in left, Michael Ciani in center, and Lars Nootbaar in right. I don't think any of us saw that coming a month ago.
No, and I think the encouraging sign as you look forward, though, is that Carlson did take BP both from the left and the right side the other day. So hopefully you start to see him out on a rehab assignment here soon and gets back in the lineup too. But Michael Ciani's played well. He's taken advantage of where it's at, which is probably why they feel they're okay sending Jordan down to get looked at because Ciani has played so well.
Of course, the other part of the moves on Wednesday before the game, Zach Thompson was mentioned also option. He had a rough game on Tuesday night, giving up 7 runs. I think it was a dual combination of reasons there. Kind of the same thing that got Palante earlier in the week on Sunday was that the fact that he pitched so much last night or Tuesday night, 66 pitches, that he was not going to be available for the next several days anyway. This will let him go down, get into the rotation at Memphis, and hopefully work his way back to the big league level, whether it would be as a reliever or as a starter. I mean, I don't think there's any question the Cardinals still are very high on Zach Thompson. They just see he also has some things and elements of his game that he needs to work on.
Yeah, and I think that bullpen door for a little bit is going to be kind of revolving, right? Because as they find the right pieces and as they start to click, and that last spot, as we've talked about coming out of spring training, was always going to be the question mark and always going to be open for grabs. And so it's probably not settled for a while here soon. So I would think that the door's open for Palante and for Zach Thompson to get back.
And I also think you're getting closer to perhaps getting Keenan Middleton available to pitch, and then right after him should be Riley O'Brien coming back as well. So as we mentioned, how good the bullpen has been, I think there's even potential for it to even be better if we get some of those guys back up here and pitching well.
And I think that's the trick. You look at last year and the bullpen wasn't good. And so the Cardinals offense wasn't scoring. Well, the bullpen wasn't helping either. This year, the Cardinals offense hasn't been scoring, but yet they've been allowing them to win games because the bullpen has kept them in the game.
I figured the record today, or after the win on Wednesday at home, the Cardinals are 5-7 so far in the 12 games at Busch Stadium, despite scoring into average of 3.3 runs a game. You almost played 500 baseball, scoring just 3 1/3 runs a game, which is a pretty telling statistic, I think.
And I haven't looked at the numbers this week, but I would assume their runs allowed is also pretty. With obviously the Diamondback game changed that a little bit the other day, but it had been pretty low because the starting pitching in the bullpen had been doing a really good job.
As we mentioned at the top of the podcast, I am down in Springfield at the Drury Hotel watching the Springfield Cardinals play for a couple of days here. They have playing some exciting baseball. They're actually undefeated at home and off to a great start, the best start in franchise history. And really a fun place to come down and watch the ball games. And got a chance to see Tink Hence pitch on Wednesday. Not one of his better outings, but he was a little bit under the weather and had some problems with his velocity and his stamina a little bit, so that cost him. Wasn't able to kind of throw his fastball as well as he would have liked, and got hurt by a couple of walks that cost him some extra pitches and got him out of the ball game early. But a very good start to his season down here at AA. Still definitely the Cardinals' top pitching prospect. They're very high on him. The encouraging thing about him is he's actually going a little bit deeper into ball games now, getting up to 85 to 90 pitches in a ball game. So they have not been able to get him up to that level the first couple of years of his years here in the Pro Bowl. So very encouraging signs from Tink Hence. You also can watch for a couple of stories coming up here on the website in the next couple of days. This guy Chandler Redmond, we've written about him many times here on the site. He had a big home run on Tuesday night as he tied the Cardinals franchise record, 59 career home runs set by Xavier Scruggs, our our good friend, the former Cardinal. And now we're doing a lot of work for MLB Network, but Xavier had the record, but Chandler tied it on Tuesday night. The interesting, cool thing about the story is his wife and young son were out sitting on the berm and were able to get the ball that he hit for the timing home run. So look for that story coming up here on the site. And then also had a chance to talk to Brian Torres, who's a young outfielder here. He actually is a player who the Cardinals signed as a minor league player, not a free agent, but they picked him up basically on a waiver claim after playing the last 2 years in independent league ball for the Milwaukee Milkmen. So you can watch for that story. It's really got an interesting story as well coming up here later on this week on the website. So, we always try to get out and watch some of the minor league games. I guess when I have to get kind of plan a trip to Memphis now, they got a couple of guys there that I ought to go pay attention to, right?
I may be biased a little bit here, but there's no sports writer that covers Cardinals minor league system better than you. There are no people out there that know the players and know the guys that we have in the system coming up better. So for anyone that's watching this, you guys truly understand and know that STL Sports Page is really going to cover everything all the way through. And so to know what's down and what's coming back and watching Tink. And now you got to get to Memphis and go check out the guys there.
Some of those guys, obviously guys that have seen his St. Louis this year, but, Memphis is a good trip as well. So, and Peoria's got some exciting young players. So some exciting times in the farm system. A lot more arms, I think, than we've had before. Obviously, the trades that the Cardinals made at the deadline last year kind of fortified the depth in the pitching ranks in the organization. Of course, they also have the draft coming up here in July with the Cardinals have the 7th overall pick in the draft. So there's going to be some excitement coming up surrounding that pick as well. But I appreciate the comments, Mike. I do enjoy going down to the minor league level as well. Should tell people too that if they're not on our list to sign up for the newsletter, you can go to the newsletter tab on stlsportspage.com, or else just send us an email to stlsportspage@gmail.com if you'd like to get on our regular newsletter to kind of get, of course, obviously not missing any of our events that we do periodically, as well as the link to all the stories and stuff that you might have missed during the week, the full game reports, the audio reports from our audio engineer, Mike Reeves, that he provides for the home games, as well, of course, as the features and columns that we get up there on the site as well. We're trying to organize an event in Springfield coming up maybe later on in the summer too. So we're trying to look anybody who's in the Springfield area that isn't on the newsletter list. We encourage you to sign up for that so you can find out more about the information that we have coming up. Cardinals with a day off on Thursday, then hit the road. They'll be in New York for the first of 3 games against the Mets starting Friday night. Mets playing better, and then they go on to 3 games in Detroit. That's not going to be an easy road trip.
No, it will not be. A lot of people think that Detroit is kind of a pushover at this point, but they've been playing the ball well too. And obviously, we might see our good friend Jack Flaherty up there too when they go to Detroit. So it'll be an interesting road trip, but hopefully good things come at the end.
Not only Jack, but you've got Carson Kelly playing on the Tigers now. You've got Shelby Miller playing on the Tigers now. I think you've got Mr. Pacheco, who was a minor league Cardinal, a former Cardinal there in Detroit. So there's a lot of St. Louis connections on that ball club.
There are a lot of former St. Louis connections all over the place.
Well, that's true. That is true. You see all the guys rolling out there: Adolis Garcia, the Randy Rosarena, the Tyler O'Neill was playing great in Boston before he got hurt, but now he's back. They just activated him back off the injured list. We're all watching what Jordan Hicks is doing in San Francisco. So yeah, there is a lot of people kind of all over the place there. But we pay most of our attention to the guys who are on the current ball club, and I think we're still. Are they 3 games under 500 at this point? So still trying to hit that 500 mark here by the end of the season. And I know a lot of people. I'm going to close with this here for a couple of comments. I know a lot of people have. I've seen the comments on X, formerly known as Twitter. People talking about it on Facebook as well about people kind of where they think the franchise is going and what they think the situation is. And even though I know, and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this. Even though I know that the record is very similar to where they were at the same point a year ago. I just feel like right now this has a little bit different feel to it, the season.
I would agree. And I feel like watching this team, I don't feel like they're out of it. It may not be the most exciting baseball yet because they're not scoring a ton of runs, but I don't feel like they're out of games. And you see the walk-off the other night by Gorman, things like that I still feel like there's hope because I don't feel like, oh, wait, Gallegos is coming in, we're going to blow it, or whoever's coming in, we're going to blow it, right? I do feel like the bullpen still is going to keep us in it. And as we've said from the beginning, if we got out to the end of April at a 500 record, we consider that a win based on the schedule. And they're not far from that.
No, and they're still not chasing the 27 Yankees either. So that's also another reason you're not buried at this point in the division by a long shot. So.
No, not at all. You look at the overall standings, and the Braves are still leading, right? But not terribly far behind, right? So that makes it an exciting time when you're not getting buried early in April. So yes, the record is not much different, but you don't feel like you're out of it.
Well, we'll let you get back to unpacking boxes and get some paint on the walls there. So, congratulations on the new house. Thanks for joining us. Hope everybody gets to check out all of our coverage from Springfield here on stlsportspage.com, as well as our other regular Cardinal features as well. Thanks to the Drury Hotels, Archwell Health, Rawlings Experience, and all of our other great sponsors here for keeping everything on our site totally free, no paywalls behind us. So, check out all of our coverage and appreciate you for tuning into this podcast. Rob Raines reporting from Springfield for stlsportspage.com.